Hi everyone. I'm wanting to give you something to think about in terms of a life skill. This isn't just for people who live with a physical disability or chronic pain. This is legitimately for everyone as you go about your life. This past week's been quite challenging for me. My hot water tank burst, and then my natural gas oven got a small leak. I've had a lot to take care of with more than one thing going wrong at a time. So just a few things I want to share with you for when you're facing stress in your own life. The first thing that I find is that life tends to be easier when you're not going through challenging times by yourself. In other words, to share what's going on with someone you trust. I'm going to understand, or I can appreciate for some people, that this isn't in place right now. So if you're going through a hard time and there's not someone that you know well to share what's going on, another option would be joining a group in social media that's dealing with the same theme as what you've got going on. So for example, I'm a part of a Facebook group for those with hip issues. And if I'm talking about hip stuff, the people that are in that group don't need a long explanation of what's happening. They can relate to it. It doesn't take the preamble that someone that's not in my situation would need to appreciate what's going on. So there's two paths there, either telling a friend or a group that is consistent with what's going on in your life. The next issue for me, especially with the physical challenges, is making sure that I'm taking care of myself. So sleep, personal hygiene, food, and as much as is reasonable, exercise. So those four really seem to be a recurring theme in my life. I'd like to add religion to this, but I'm not out to make those who don't have the same faith as I do be put off by the life skill that I'm working or wanting to share with you. Now, the next sort of item that I would talk about is making sure that your mind is still active and that you're not drawing into yourself when you're dealing with stress. So there's different creative outlets for this. I've talked about playing the piano. I've talked about doing crafts before. For those of you who are limited, you could also do an exercise in your mind. For example, a scavenger hunt of what's in the house, sort of going from letter A to Z, and just making sure that you're not focused inward, but making sure that you're taking the steps you need to live your life and not sort of have a shutdown happen. The final component of this is that I understand that there are people who really struggle with anxiety. There are people who really struggle with depression, and there's many things that can go wrong in our lives. If you need someone to go talk to that can help you, I would encourage you to do so. Whether it's someone in the community that's really knowledgeable, or if it's professional help you're needing, and it may not even be specifically for mental health, if you're having a problem with your physical disability, it may be more helpful for you to go talk to an occupational therapist to work out the logistics of doing a particular chore that's making you really frustrated, or a social worker if you're dealing with the logistics of managing life, and then let that social worker direct you to the appropriate resource where you live. In other words, not being an island onto yourself. And if there's only one thing you're going to remember from this video, that would be what I suggest, is making sure that you're not isolating yourself, and as best as is practical, not sort of going into a shell and not getting the support or the help that you need. There's one final comment that I can share that might help balance this out. There's times in our lives when we need help. There's other times where there's going to be people around us that are going through a hard time that we've already been through. So part of the redeeming quality of dealing with stress is that you have the life skill to share when the appropriate time comes and there's an opportunity that's helpful to speak into someone's life and let them know it'll be okay, or a few steps that they can take. So I wouldn't automatically shun adversity in life, but to maybe embrace it where you care about yourself, that you're worth it, and that from this, an opportunity will eventually come around to you to use what you've learned in helping someone else. I hope each of you are doing okay. Thanks for this time that you spent with me. Bye for now.